All right. All right, you guys ready? Welcome. Before we begin, I would like to recognize members of the Mobile Airport Authority who are in attendance. We have our Vice Chairman, Mr. James Fowler, in the back. And for those who could not attend, Chairman Elliott Maisel, Lance Coven, Walter Bell, and Jamie Eisen. Thank you for coming to the last public meeting for the Mobile Airport Authority Downtown Airport Master Plan. There are so many people I would like to thank for their hard work in helping us get to the finish line. I would specifically like to mention Senator Richard Shelby, Governor Kay Ivey, Mayor Sandy Stimpson, and county, city elected officials in Baldwin and Mobile counties. Mayor Stimpson's vision was to relocate commercial air service from Mobile Regional Airport to the Mobile Downtown Airport. It was also the vision of Mobile Airport Authority Chairman Elliott Maisel. As we engaged the public through the Metropolitan Airport System Study, or Feasibility Study, and Master Plan, we realized most customers in the region embraced the relocation of commercial air service. We took several steps in the last few years to get to this point. In January 2018, the feasibility study began, and it was completed 5 months later in June 2018. The study's purpose was to determine the highest and best use of the Mobile Airport Authority airports. The study concluded that relocating commercial service to the downtown airport would bring significant benefits, and most importantly, allow the Mobile Airport Authority to provide premium air service to the customers of our region. Frontier Airlines introduced seasonal air service from the downtown airport on May 1st, 2019. Although they no longer provide service from BFM, the air service trial run proved to be successful. We found that customers were very excited about the convenience, and more than 60% of Baldwin County residents directly contributed to more than 40,000 customers utilizing the airport. In October 2018, Mobile Airport Authority hired Lee Fisher to conduct the master plan study through an RFP process, and in January 2019, the project was officially launched. Before we get into the details of the plan, I would like to recognize some of our business partners I consider to be an extension of the airport team. First, I'd like to introduce Bob Chappelle with the Mobile Chamber of Commerce. And Bob, would you come up and make a few comments?
Chris, thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you all this afternoon. On behalf of the Mobile Area Chamber of Commerce and our 1,900 member businesses, we absolutely support moving commercial passenger service to the Mobile Downtown Airport. Few cities in the world have the type of assets that we have that push us towards positive economic development. Those include, and led by really the Mobile Aeroplex here at Brookley, our Deepwater Port, our 5 Class 1 railroads, our 2 interstates, one of America's fastest growing intermodal terminals, and soon commercial passenger service, all within 5 miles of our central business district. You just really don't see that all come together in the way that it does here in Mobile. It will make doing business in Mobile all the more easier, and it will make selling Mobile all the more easier for all of us. To have passenger air service move to Brookley, frankly, makes all the sense in the world. As Chris said, the Frontier experience clearly proved it. Rave reviews, significant increase of Baldwin traffic, very meaningful to what's trying to be accomplished here. As I wrap up, I'd be remiss if I didn't commend and thank the leadership of the Airport Authority, led by Chairman Elliott Maisel, and the work of Airport Authority President Chris Curry and his team. Thank each of you for your tremendous contribution to Mobile's economic growth, and sincere congratulations on today's milestone event. Thank you. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Bob. Next, I'd like to invite the CEO of Visit Mobile, David Clarke.
Thank you, Chris. David Clarke, good afternoon. And on behalf of Visit Mobile and Tourism, we are super excited about the Mobile Airport Authority's new downtown airport and their master plan. The plan is visionary, it's strategic, it's collaborative, it's innovative, and it's absolutely critical to assure our future. You know, plans are about outcomes, and this plan assures extraordinary outcomes. This plan checks so many boxes. Moving the airport closer to 135,000 residents has already demonstrated that coastal Alabama residents will support the downtown airport. Consider also that 9 million tourists visit coastal Alabama annually and drive right by the downtown airport. Tourists will have a better chance to support it. Additionally, we know that hundreds and thousands of vehicles pass by the downtown airport weekly, and we know that amenities and retail are all about location, 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 and ease of access. So check that box too. The downtown airport also checks many, many more boxes. That is the customer market segments of leisure, bleisure, that's business and leisure, business transient conventions and meetings, and cruising, and think the wonderful carnival sensation that will be arriving again to home port for Mobile very soon. The downtown airport will enhance our connections regionally with North America and with our international visitors. Visit Mobile is looking forward to the future and believes that the downtown airport and this plan will be a tremendous success for the city of Mobile and coastal Alabama. Thank you.
Last, Lee Lawson, president of the Baldwin County Economic Development Alliance, could not be here, but he did provide the following quote: "Competitive air service is a crucial site location factor in economic development. The relocation of the commercial air service to the downtown airport greatly enhances economic development opportunities for our entire region. This relocation will continue to position our region as one of the best to invest in." Let me say that before we get into the plan itself, the study has yet to be commissioned by the Airport Authority, but that's expected to be commissioned within the next few weeks. However, we do not anticipate any significant changes to the plan. So without further delay, let's get into the plan, and Brian, can you start us off with a quick video?
In 1949, the Mobile Municipal Airport moved to 840 acres located 12 miles from the city at the end of a two-lane road. In the over 70 years since its relocation, the Mobile Regional Airport has provided airline service for millions of business and leisure travelers. And that two-lane rural road became Airport Boulevard, a busy corridor that accommodates thousands of cars each day. While the airport is a first-rate facility, traffic congestion, a location 10 miles away from the interstate, and other factors have eaten away at Mobile Regional's passenger base. In fact, approximately 55% of the Mobile market is lost to competitors, including the Pensacola and New Orleans airports. Fewer passengers result in fewer flights and higher fares. And a thriving airport is important to the local economy.
Airports are like the spoke of a wheel. We are connected to every phase of a city's economy. We're connected to academic institutions. We're also connected to tourism and to small businesses. So we touch almost every phase of the economy, and we connect people to the global network.
To revitalize Mobile's commercial passenger service and recapture its market of travelers, the Mobile Airport Authority commissioned a feasibility study in 2018. It concluded moving service from the poorly located Mobile Regional Airport to the Mobile Downtown Airport was critical. Recent commercial passenger flights from low-cost carrier Frontier in 2019, made possible by an investment from the authority, served as a successful trial run. 60% of passengers came from fast-growing nearby Baldwin County. Therefore, the Mobile Airport Authority, with the support of local leaders, is committed to the expansion of Mobile Downtown Airport, known as BFM, at the Mobile Aeroplex at Brookley.
Many of the businesses and the CEOs of those major corporations in Mobile support this move, and I predict that they'll be flying exclusively out of downtown Mobile.
The airport would be a key piece of a transportation network, with easy access to rail, the Alabama Cruise Terminal, and I-10 and I-65. Plus, with the move of service to BFM, over 138,000 people would be closer to the Mobile area airport.
The downtown airport is an attractive location for the commercial airlines. If we're able to foster competition between the commercial airlines, then we can lower fares and provide more direct destinations than we currently have.
A master plan conducted from 2019 to 2020 identifies the best alternatives for a new terminal layout for commercial passenger service at Mobile Downtown Airport. This complements the robust aeronautic industrial activity at the Brookley Aeroplex and maximizes the existing system of roadways and opportunities for future development.
As president of the Eastern Shore Chamber, I think I can speak for the businesses and also for the tourism industry in Baldwin County and on the Eastern Shore. Having the airport right here in our backyard would be a great service to both in time and also not having people fly into other areas such as Pensacola or the Mississippi Gulf Coast. Lands them right here in our backyard where they can learn all the wonderful things there are to do in Mobile and on the Eastern Shore.
Moving the airport to downtown will be moving Mobile toward being a world-class city.
Well, I promised that we'll get into the master plan, but before we do, let me invite Mayor Sandy Stimpson up for a few comments.
Thank you, Chris. This is really an exciting day, not just for the Mobile Airport Authority, but for the entire city of Mobile. I had an opportunity to preview this last week, and over the last year, every now and then I would pick up bits and pieces of what was going on. And so as I stand before you today, I can just tell you this is a game changer for the city. It's one of those hurdles that we had to cross over in order to continue to, with our vision of relocating, and what I really say it's not relocating, it's transferring the services at Regional Airport, to Brookley. And by doing that, you're going to hear from the presentation of what all the reasons are for that. So again, I'm very supportive of what Chris and Elliot Maisel, the entire airport authority, has done. We look forward to continuing to work with them. And all these airplanes that you see parked that are not flying out there on the other tarmac over there, on the runway actually, I hope one day that all of those are gone and all we see are just jets coming and going, landing and taking off. Because we know that what this does, this is going to position us closer to the market, more in the epicenter of our community. So great things are ahead, and this just continues the positive momentum for the city of Mobile. So Chris, thank you for letting me be a part of this. Wishing everybody good luck. Thank you.
Mayor, before you leave, if you guys have any questions for the mayor, I know he's on a pretty tight schedule, so he may not be around at the end. So if you have any questions that you would like to ask.
Stimpson, what is so exciting about looking at this drawing and seeing it actually come to fruition today?
I think that if you don't have a plan, you don't know where you're going to go. So now we know where we're going to go. We kind of know what the boundaries are. We know what the what possible future acquisitions that maybe need to be made over the next 20 years. And so that's the thing that's exciting. It's not going to be a hodgepodge, bunch of decisions made from an emotional basis. They're going to be based on a study that's backed up by data over the last year, a very expensive study. So we're making decisions based on data. And so we have a good plan, so we know where we're going, and when you know where you're going, there's a better chance you're going to get there.
Why is it so important to you to make this move? Because there's lots of reasons, but why is it important to you?
So the real wake-up call to me was one day one of the members of the airport authority showed me a graph, and that graph showed, I think it went back into the 1980s, and it could have been the 1990s, but I want to say the 1980s. And it showed where Mobile and Pensacola were really virtually the same size as the number of passengers taken off out of our cities. And what that graph showed was that Pensacola, over the period of time, had grown about 1 million more passengers, and the city of Mobile was flatlining. And when you flatline for very long, that means you're going to die. And so I knew that what I felt was that our airport had some structural challenges from its location, the age of the facility, knowing that at some point in time, FAA was going to say, you know, we need to invest a bunch of money replacing the terminal. And so when you started factoring all that in, you're saying we can't continue doing the same thing, or that Pensacola will continue to outdistance us, as will Gulfport. So it was really seeing the data that made me realize that this is not acceptable. And so knowing that it was a huge, huge change, we started the groundwork by using that graph and showing, I really believe we probably had 15 or 20 meetings showing different groups, anywhere from 10 to 20 people, what was happening to us. And so, without exception, everybody said, you've got to do something differently. And that differently is, let's look at Brookley and let's see if that's part of the solution to our problem. And it became apparent that it was part of the solution.
Right, and will this help our economy grow even more than we've already seen?
Absolutely. I think it's going to be a huge boost to us from an economy standpoint. I think that when people are coming into your city and they're landing here, that typically means that they're going to spend some money somewhere, okay? And so what you really want, you want to see your inbound traffic more than your outbound traffic. And so I think that you're going to see a huge economic boost. And when you think of what is occurring right now, is that we have a port that we will have spent over a $500 million on deepening it. We've got a container port, the intermodal. So when you think of the close proximity of the airport to the port, there are very few places in the United States that could have air cargo coming into the airport and going to a ship, or going to a train. And also when you factor in the possibility of the Amtrak going to New Orleans, all that's really exciting. So it's going to help the economy.
It's going to be a very expensive endeavor to do this, around $160 million. Is that money going to be well worth it for what we're going to get, and also what it's going to help for our economy?
So the way I would answer that question, and it had to do with, is this a good investment for the community? Well, a lot of the money ultimately will have to come from FAA. And the bucket of money that FAA draws from, it's allocated by the Congress. It's going to be spent somewhere at some airport fixing somebody's airport. And so what we've got to do is make the case that, Mobile is worthy of that investment. And so you do that by the data, by the numbers showing what it can mean. And so I think that over a period of time, with the expertise that Chris Curry brings to the table, with the relationships we have with the FAA, we'll be able to prove that it is a good investment. What I don't know at this point in time is, how much money, if any, comes from the city of Mobile, how much comes from the county, how much comes from the Mobile Airport Authority. We really haven't crossed all those T's and dotted those I's, but I believe that when we start looking at the stack of money that it will take and the period of time that it will be spent over, I think it will be a wise investment.
I don't think most places would ever move an airport closer to a downtown area. Most of the time you end up moving it farther away, which is what they did all these years ago when they built
Yeah.
the regional airport out there. I mean, this is something that doesn't happen all that often, where you're bringing something a lot closer, especially with I-10 and I-65 right here.
And you're very perceptive. As a matter of fact, when we brought it up to the FAA, we were in Washington, D.C., and we were explaining what the idea was and about, moving it closer to downtown. And we gave them the reasons having to do with the business district and how close the airport itself would be to I-10, what it would mean to commerce on I-10. And if I recall right, the guy kind of shrugged his shoulders and he said, we're doing just the opposite. I don't know why we can't move back downtown. He said, you're just reversing the process, and as long as you can make the business case for doing that, it should be doable. And so, yes, they had to change their thinking because of just what you said, but, it is a unique situation that the city of Mobile has grown in conjunction with Baldwin County like it has. So it's a huge opportunity. Yep.
Mayor,
Yep.
the high-level strategy, of course, lower ticket fares, more low-cost carriers, more direct access. Could you speak about your thoughts on what it means for the community, for our citizens, for current businesses, and for future businesses in Mobile
Yeah.
to have lower ticket fares and greater connectivity?
Yeah, so the more people that are flying, the lower the ticket fare will be. And the more people that fly, the more opportunities you'll have to have direct flights, to other cities. So if you look at some of our competition, what we hear is that I'm going to go to a competitive city that's, 60 miles away. And the reason is I can get on a direct flight and go to such and such city. Or their price is $40 or $80, cheaper than, the city of what we can do out of regional airport. And so people are very cost conscious. And right in there with that cost consciousness is the amount of time that it's going to take having connecting flights. And so if you can have direct flights, you're going to be much better off. We feel like the regional carriers, like downtown, we felt like that the regional carriers would like Brookley more so than the regional airport. And we found that out, and I say regional, I meant the low cost, like Frontier. They didn't want to fly out of the regional airport. They wanted to fly out of downtown. And we proved that that market that we thought was there is actually there, because when we looked at where the license tags were coming from and where the tickets, were being purchased from, we realized that we had proved the point that this will work, especially for the low-cost carriers. And the idea is that, the competition, what that does is that breeds more opportunity. And so we believe that as the passenger count grows, that, all your carriers will be looking at, we want to look at downtown Brookley and get away from regional, because what we have at this facility right now, it's more economical for any airplane to fly out of Brookley than it is out of regional, just because of the cost of the infrastructure that we have here. So we believe that the airlines will look at it as a win-win for them. It's a win-win for those who are, all the citizens that are, buying the tickets. And really, it's a consolidation of a lot of things that the airport authority has, in one site, with the future growth that we have and expect from Airbus, and having it all right here. It's just an exciting time. And that kind of triggers another thought, is that there was a lot of concern. How is Airbus going to grow? And how are you going to have a commercial airport here and let Airbus have, the room they need to grow? Well, in Toulouse, we were sitting in the chairman of the board's office. We were looking out over the runway, and there was a plane taking off just about as regularly as what you see out of Atlanta. And they were building something like 50 airplanes, probably closer to, well, I won't say 50 to 100 airplanes a month out of that facility. So the air manufacturers, aircraft manufacturers, they know how to coexist with commercial airports. So that really should not be a challenge for us. Okay, have I touched everything?
I think you have, Mayor.
Good.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Well, and also I was on the first flight on Frontier that flew out of here, and it was a great flight, and I can't wait to take another one out of here, and I can't wait to get rid of these little masks. But meantime, we all need to wear them, so thank you.
Okay, so I'll get in and out of this plan fairly quickly so you guys can ask all the questions you like, and if you want to stay around and be a part of the public agenda, you can. Okay, so the start of the studies, as we mentioned before, was the feasibility study. That study started back in 2018, and it was funded at a 90% level by the Federal Aviation Administration. It was to determine whether it was cost effective to relocate the commercial service to the downtown airport. And what we found is that it was. You know, we looked at the Mobile Regional Airport and what it would take to build a bypass road from Interstate 10 or 65, and it was just too costly because of all the businesses that have built up and all the and the distance that it would take to get from those highways to the airport. The legacy carriers, they see advantages in being at the downtown airport. Frontier saw the advantage, and so they only wanted to serve Mobile from the downtown airport as well. We learned from the Frontier experience that 60% of Baldwin County residents would use the downtown airport compared to only 10% that use the Mobile Regional Airport today. And people typically use the airport that's located closer to them. So what is the master plan? The master plan covers the next 20 years of development for the airport. This is the first master plan for the downtown airport, and it establishes a course of action for future aviation needs. The master plan displays the 20-year vision graphically and in text. We hired Lee Fisher January 2019. We established an 18-month goal for completion of the project, which is very aggressive. When we started the plan, we formed committees. We had a technical advisory committee, which was all the major stakeholders, included Airbus, ST Aerospace, Austal, Walmart, Amazon, you name it. But we also formed the Citizens Advisory Committee, which were residents that live close to the airport, and some as far away as Baldwin County as well. The two big items that's included in the plan is the build of a new terminal and a relocation of the air traffic control facility. What is included in the terminal? So the vision of the airport is to be an international facility. So in order to be an international facility, you must have an FIS, Federal Inspection Services facility in the airport. This houses Customs and Border Protection that are here to process passengers and also cargo. We'll also look at the expansion of the airport from a land perspective. We have been very public about our desire to purchase property to the east that is currently owned by the foundation, and property to the north that is currently owned by the Mobile Housing Board. The Crepe Myrtle Trail, that's very important to a lot of the local citizens, and they voiced that through the Citizens Advisory Committee. And also road improvements. So the primary access roads into the airport would be Dolphin Island Parkway and Michigan Avenue. So this slide here depicts the future airport access. So at the end of the plan, the idea is to have traffic come from Michigan, access to terminal from Perimeter Road, or come from DIP, Military Road, to access Perimeter Road. And so some improvements may be necessary to facilitate the growth of traffic. And this is a picture or concept of the new terminal, and that's provided for you over there on the easel if you want to take a picture of it later. But let's talk about the inner workings of this terminal. 130,000 square feet, smaller than the regional airport is today, which is 162,000 square feet. So the idea is to build a smaller footprint, but also be more efficient. 8 gates, 8 jet bridge gates. And I mentioned before the Federal Inspection Services for the international ability to process passengers. We also plan to have a parking garage because it rains a lot in Mobile. So we're looking at a 5-tier deck that would also include some rental cars within the parking garage. The next slide talks about land expansion that we desire in order to continue the growth of the airport. One of the things that you'll notice about the plan is that we were very sensitive to concerns of the residents not to take the airport terminal off the airport, which would cause eminent domain or cause people to be uncomfortable with the growth. The reason that we're able to do that is because we see opportunities to expand in other areas, and we're not dealing with citizens. We're dealing with organizations or foundations, one owner, so it has the least amount of impact to the residents. So you'll see highlighted in green the area to the north, which is the housing development, and the area to the east, which is owned by the foundation. There were a lot of questions along the way about noise, and would we evaluate the impact of noise? The answer is yes. However, the footprint of the noise contours in 2040 is not significantly different than what it is today. Keep in mind, nighttime noise is amplified more than daytime noise. And over time, engines in aircraft are quieter because of the standards. So you may have more aircraft than you have today, but because they are newer and more efficient, you don't get the same amount of noise. Now in 2040, the noise contour does go slightly off the airport. However, the area that it goes over primarily is the cemetery. We've included the Crepe Myrtle Trail for an assessment and evaluation by the TSA and the FAA. This is a bike trail that goes around the perimeter of the airport, and the group that's involved would like unimpeded access so that they can transition without interfering with the airport operation. The way it works today, when they schedule a ride, the airport operations team will go out, let them through the fence, they transition the airport, exit the airport, and continue on the trail. The cost. So the overall cost over a 20-year period is estimated at $400 million. The terminal is estimated around $160 million. And again, the terminal is efficient for the type of traffic we have today, but you'll see there's opportunities to expand as we continue to gain more traffic. So the two big pieces, terminal and air traffic control relocation. The remainder of it, by and large, is to improve the pavement that we have at this airport that has been around since this airport was an Air Force base. When we get into the funding allocation, airports are generally funded 90% by the Federal Aviation Administration. And so when we talk about the airport authority being a self-sustaining operation, we generate our own funds for operations. We do not get tax money from the city or any other entity. But the money that the airport used to fund airports are generated by the airport system. So when you look at fuel taxes, cargo way bills, and all those taxes that are assessed at every airport in the United States, it goes into the AIP fund and then is later distributed to airports based on priority in the airport system. So our expectation, if the project is a $400 million project, $350 million or so would come from the Federal Aviation Administration, $19.5 million from the Mobile Airport Authority, $19.5 million from the state of Alabama, and there could be some other funding sources in there that could affect those amounts. All right, so last but not least, airports are connected to everything, right? We're like the center of a wheel. We affect business, academics, conventions, emergency response, employment, and leisure. And with that, I'll take any questions that you have. And if you have any questions as well for Bob or Dave, they're available as well.
Really would like to know what happens next. Is it the process of asking for money? Is it the process of breaking down this plan into a finer timetable? What happens next?
Well, first, the Airport Authority will commission the study. The study will then be submitted to the FAA for their planning purposes because, again, they will be asked to fund a significant amount of the project. We'll continue to coordinate with the legacy carriers that are out to regional to determine a schedule that works for them. And once we reasonably get funding in place, then we'll move towards design, environmental, and proceed through to through construction. And as I mentioned before, we're studied out. So it's now time to physically get to work.
Seeing the conceptual design, I mean, you've been working on this for over 2 years now, pretty much since you got here to the Mobile Airport Authority. Is that exciting, at least to see? It's not a rendering of what it's going to look like, but at least it's a footprint of what the plan is going to be at some point?
You know, Tyler, it's very exciting because we were presented with several options. And some of those options took the airport terminal off the airport. But the authority, again, was very sensitive, and I think we all ended up in that area that the terminal will be located. You know, I think it'll be even more exciting when we get a concept or rendering of how it will look. And then it will be even more exciting when we can walk through a physical terminal.
And when do you think that will be?
I would estimate, and again, I've known to be wrong with time, minimum 2 years, maximum perhaps 5 years.
So 2025, we could be looking at the airport and Mobile Regional being closed, and you guys are, well, excuse me, the commercial operations and everyone being here at a terminal that would be just a couple hundred yards from where we're staying right now?
That is possible. Now, I will say that within the master plan, there is one alternative. And that alternative takes into account if there is such a demand to move down to Brookley much earlier by the legacy carriers or any potential new carriers, we have the option of expanding this building and using it as a transitional terminal. But that is an alternative. The primary is to quickly move forward with the build of a new facility.
A lot of people have been commenting online when they're hearing that you guys were doing this design or about this movement to Mobile or to the Berkeley field, that the biggest problem with flying out of Mobile is the cost. It is significantly or can be significantly more expensive than, say, Pensacola, Gulfport, or New Orleans. And it has to do with competition, I assume, because we just got 3 legacy carriers here, while some other places have more. Is that moving it to here, do you feel that the fares may go down and you can get more competition here?
So that's a very good question because I want to make sure that people understand why we want to move. Over the past 2 years, the fares at regional have dropped on average $100 per round trip. Some of that was due in part to having a low-cost carrier in the market, although not at Mobile, but in the market being at the downtown airport. None of the airlines that I have met with in the last 3 years are interested in adding new destinations or serving the Mobile Regional Airport because the access to the airport is not easy. They're all excited about moving to the downtown airport. So the idea is to provide a terminal that they can operate from, move them to the downtown airport, create competition that also brings in low-cost carriers, and also cause the legacy carriers to expand destinations. And we know that that formula works for reducing fares out of Mobile.
Obviously a costly endeavor for the airlines as well to have to move down here. They have technology, they have things that they've been using there. Are there any holdouts? Do any of the airlines over there not want to move? I mean, are they all on board with something like this from your understanding?
They're all excited, and it may not be as costly as you think because the rates and charges structure for the downtown airport is less than MOB. So it might be a little bit expensive for them to make the initial move, but over time they'll pay much less to operate out of this airport than the regional airport.
And that could mean lower fares just in general in that regard, correct?
Well, the idea is that if the airport makes the cost lower for the airlines, it translates to the customer. Now, whether they do that or not, we can't control that, but we can do our part.
Overall, you're excited about this and you're excited for the future? I mean, you have a lot of people in Mobile, I mean, Baldwin County, as you said, 60% of the people will come into the Frontier flight as opposed to 10% to Mobile Regional. Are you optimistic that that this is going to be a turning point for commercial airlines and commercial flights out of Mobile?
I'm very excited, and this is a transformational project. But you know, when you engage in a project like this, you don't have any time to rest. So after we present the master plan tonight, it's on to what's next until we get to the ultimate goal of bringing everybody to the downtown airport.
If you have a 20-year master plan, and you think in 5 years you're going to have this swap, you're going to flip the switch on commercial service, what the heck are you doing with the next 15 years?
So as part of the master plan, there is a forecast. And the forecast is based on what will you do based on certain levels of traffic. So at 5 years, we get everybody down to the downtown airport. But let's say we double our growth. Well, the forecast may say if you double your growth, you need to widen a road, or you need to add more space to the terminal. You need to add more gates. You need more apron space. If you have a much larger aircraft type, you need to expand the runway. So the work never ends when it comes to an airport master plan. And before we can get to the end of the 20-year master plan, in 10 years, we'll probably be doing an update.
And related question, what's the vision for Mobile Regional?
Well, Mobile Regional will continue to be an airport. We have more than 3,000 acres of property there, but it will not be necessary for us to maintain that same footprint. So I think the idea would be to dispose of some of that property, make it a smaller airport, cater to the needs of the Coast Guard, other military, and pilots who want to go out there and train, but also entertain the opportunity for a possible cargo airport, or in some cases it may facilitate National Guard and Reserve units all consolidated in one place. So we're open to any ideas above and beyond that would serve a good public purpose.
And what will the initial part of all this cost, the terminal and all that?
Well, the terminal is estimated at $160 million or so if we follow through with the full design as it is. And the air traffic relocation is about $25 million.
Any issue with runways that are currently here? I know the FAA has given Brookley Field a lot of money over the last several years for refurbishment of the runways. Anything that you guys have to do with the runways that you have here?
Well, we did get $8 million earlier this year to rehabilitate our primary runway. And so that runway will close for about 7 months while they're doing the construction. What that means is that the shorter runway, or the north-south runway, will take a severe beating because it will handle all of the traffic in and out of this airport. So I would imagine that the primary runway will be in excellent shape, The secondary runway will need some renovation within the next year or two. All right. Everybody's good? Okay. Thank you guys for coming out. You guys are more than happy to stay around for the Zoom meeting, but it'll probably be boring compared to my presentation. you guys got the quick version.
Could we possibly get a copy of the slide